As Yet Untitled. This is the show that's completely unprepared and unrehearsed and disorganised and pointless in many ways. But by the end of it, we will come up with a title for the show. But in order to do that, I need help from my guests. So please really welcome them. Who do we have? Let's see who we have. We have Mark Olver here. Mark Olver fell over and ended up in America. Mark Olver is here. Jenny Éclair is here. Welcome to Jenny. Jenny Éclair has had her pubes reviewed and has a mother with dynamic IT skills. And Alexie Sayle. Welcome to Alexie Sayle. Alexie Sayle no longer carries a gun. Alexie Sayle. And Jon Richardson. Jon Richardson is simply just not weird enough and is somewhat risk-averse. You two are friends, aren't you?
We live together.
You live together,
We've known each other for 15 years.
They were having a terrible row. They're like a
domestic.
partner's row
Did you see
in
it
the dressing
happen?
room, yeah.
Were they?
Did you see the cushions thing?
Yeah, well, you're quite OCD, aren't you? And you had to rearrange the cushions, and they just went like that with the cushions and disarranged
It's a good
them.
test of what OCD is, because I'm actually just tidy, and I got up and put the cushions where they should be, and you just couldn't resist the urge to...
You said something that I felt was aggressive, and I didn't want to come back with words, so I just moved
did
the
the
cushion.
cushions.
What did I say?
I can't remember what it was.
Was it as aggressive as on the way out here, when are you going to put your show clothes on?
I did say that. I did say that.
This is like group therapy, isn't it? And this
Yeah.
table is like... How do you feel about that, John?
I was quite upset, but then some of us don't wear our material, we speak it.
I read something you said that I loved, which you said that snooker is basically tidying up, and that's why you like it. That's really made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, get a messy table and put everything away. Yeah.
That's your
It's a
favourite
good
game.
sport, yeah. And then they hoover the table if you've ever been live. Oh, come on, they get right in the corner of it, they do.
They even clean the ball, which is obviously shiny and
know.
perfectly...
Have you got like a favourite cleaning product?
Well, we've switched to sort of eco-cleaning products in the house.
That must be frustrating.
I know, well, when she goes away, I get the proper stuff in.
Yeah.
So how did you end up? Did you meet through comedy, or did comedy come later?
Well, I'd been to the local comedy night, which you hosted.
Yes.
And I was drunk, and I was depressed, and I knew I wanted to be a comedian, and I thought the way to do that was to grab one in the street and say, how do you do it? Teach me your ways.
And I was quite nice.
Yeah.
I mean, all the animosity started later on. I mean, like, for the first couple of weeks, I was quite nice to you, wasn't I?
Yeah, you're sort of a godfather figure in Bristol comedy, aren't you? You sort of take young people and...
Fuck them up.
Oh, yeah.
Have you lived with comics?
I find it fascinating because it's so long ago that I shared a flat with anyone. I mean, I'm married now, but for us 15 years I lived on my own. I shared when I was a student. It's an awful experience. I mean, you know, there were slugs on the kitchen floor, and we didn't have a bin, we had a box. No one ever washed up, it was freezing, there was ice on the inside of the windows. It was so cold one winter that the cistern froze, and my flatmate, rather than dealing with it, went and had a shit in the garden. In the snow. And I don't even know if he took loo roll with him or if he just sort of dragged himself back up the garden. And then came back in saying, I'm finished. But that's what people were like.
At least you had a room. When I first moved down to London, I moved in with a Palestinian friend of mine who lived in a basement, a crumbling basement in Queensgate. And it turned out, because I hadn't listened to him when he'd invited me to stay with him, that my room was one side of the floor next to his bed. He was in the bed with one or sometimes two girlfriends. And the other parts of the floor, like the base of the bed and the other side, were taken up by other Arabs.
I lived on a shelf. I did live on a shelf once for about 3 months. I lived on a shelf. Yeah. It was. He said it was a room. It wasn't. It was a cupboard.
I couldn't fit on
No,
a shelf.
you'd roll off.
There hasn't a shelf been made that could take me sleeping on it.
3 months on a shelf. God.
I lived in a shared house when I was first doing gigs and I didn't have any money and I left university, and we used to get burgled. And so when I went out, I would lock my bedroom door, and then the landlord's boyfriend, he was ranting at me all the time because he thought it was antisocial that I would lock my door. I said, there's no antisocial, it's anti-burglar. That's what I'm trying to stop things getting nicked. You know, it's none of his business what's in my room anyway. He didn't even live there.
Exactly.
But also, when people keep climbing in through the windows and nicking my video, I'm going to lock it up, aren't I?
You know, I pictured you only had one video of something. I didn't realise. If I have to buy the Goonies again...
It was so bad that if I went out, I didn't like to leave a tape in the machine because I thought, when it gets nicked, I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose the Blues Brothers, do I? We're going to eject everything.
Yeah.
So, John, you're risk averse. I'm not surprised to hear that, but
yeah,
how does it manifest itself
well,
specifically?
just crippling. So you get asked frequently in this sort of job to prepare for shows like this where you need some interesting thing that's happened to you in the last, you know, since you were born. And I just never have any, to the point where it pisses me off. And it really... So that I was moving house and I was packing my things with straw so they didn't break, obviously. And I had a lighter and I threw the lighter on top of the straw and I thought, that's stupid. And then I thought, oh, actually, that's the sort of thing that a comedian would do. And then they'd have a routine about it. But I took the lighter out anyway, because I thought, why risk it? And then the worst, I had a builder come round to my house. It was fitting my kitchen, and I offered to make him a cup of tea, because I'm that kind of guy. And then you have a mug selection moment, where most of my mugs have characters from Winnie the Pooh on. And I thought, that doesn't suggest a man who's in control of his life. So I'm going to get screwed over on price. The minute you put a Piglet mug down and suddenly the skirting board's a bit more expensive than it was before. After I lived with Mark, I lived with some other friends, and they moved out and they left a load of stuff behind because they're arseholes. Someone had left behind a world's best brother mug, which I think is... If you were the world's best brother, you'd take the mug with you when you left. So instantly, the prize is revoked. But I had it with me because I didn't want to waste it. So I made the mug, I made the tea for this guy in the mug, and I went to give it to him. Then I thought, what if he's had like a brother or sister that died, and if I give him this mug, it'll bring back the memory of his sibling who loved him but died tragically in some sort of accident. So I tipped the tea into another mug. And that's when I really realised nothing interesting is ever going to happen to you. Ever. I'm so relentlessly tedious. It breaks my heart. For our honeymoon, we went across America for 3 weeks. I thought something will happen. Not a thing. We arrived everywhere on time. I picked up the car, that was fine. I never put the wrong petrol in it. I didn't have a crash. You get that back and you arrive on time, and they say, how was it? And they say, well, we saw everything and we arrived early. So we had time to get a snack, so we weren't even hungry at any point. Yeah, and it's not the way your life is supposed to go. Thank God.
So what enrages you?
Day to day?
Yeah.
Everyone.
When was the last time you yelled at something or someone?
Oh, in the car, I become quite emboldened when I'm wrapped in steel. Yeah. I'm a lot bolder than I would be in real life. But then in my car, I have in the boot of my car is a shoebox which has a pot noodle, a packet of cereal bars, a screw-top bottle of red wine, and some hot chocolate sachets in case I ever get stranded overnight and I need snacks. In the panel of the door is an escape hammer. This is my mum. I mentioned once, when I was gigging, I used to be a sales rep and then I would gig in the evenings, and I used to gig a lot in Cornwall and Devon. And I was driving back over the bridge into Bristol, and I said to my mum once, I think I have this vision that every time I go over that bridge, one day I'm just going to keep steering left and drive off the bridge. So for my birthday, she bought me an escape hammer, which has got like a...
Oh, so when your car's underwater...
You can smash the windscreen. It's got a blade to cut through the windscreen and then a torch so you can shine your way out.
Is this a genetic thing you've got then? Because your mum sounds like she's kind of prepared as well. Like,
I think maybe.
She understands this.
Yeah.
She's really nice.
Good.
The way you say that as if that's astonishing.
Have you ever thought of, like, embracing the... You know, have you ever tried to embrace the chaos to...
I would want to try, but then why would you deliberately do things wrong just to get a shitty little joke out of it? I can't.
Even as a child, no recklessness as a child. Did you ever climb a tree?
No, because my friend Lee climbed one and fell out of it, and I learned why would you?
I used to be incredibly reckless, and I think that as you get older, you get scareder. I mean, it's sort of... literally, the other day I thought, well, I couldn't go to Niagara Falls now. Not with my bladder.
You can watch the rest of this episode on UK TV Play. And now for some extra stories that didn't make the show.
Yeah, you're the ideal flatmate, really.
Thank you for saying that. It's amazing how many people I've lived with don't say that, Jenny. Thank you for being
What percentage of people you've lived with say that you're not a good flatmate? What would you say?
To my face or afterwards?
Afterwards.
Yeah, most don't appreciate what I give to them.
Really? But isn't it like, what? Is it nice and tidy and everything?
It's nice and... Yeah, sometimes it's... I mean, I will admit sometimes people cross boundaries that are more my boundaries than society's boundaries.
And what he means by boundaries, he means moving a spoon.
I'm fascinated by the right place for the cushions, and that's very subjective.
Well, exactly, but it's a 3-seater sofa with 2 cushions on it. So, Alan, what would you say? It's fairly straightforward. There is an answer.
You're going one in each corner,
He went one in each corner.
Well, I did in that situation. With hindsight, that was incorrect. It should
Aesthetically,
be
you
in
should
the
always
middle.
bunch. You should never have equal number of cushions on a piece of furniture. You should always have an odd number.
Yes. We've
Them's
gone
the rules.
On a 3-seater sofa at home, we've gone for 17 now. Which I think is too
As long as it's a prime number, it's all right.
Yeah.
So why are you the perfect housemate? Is this true of you, that you're the perfect housemate? I've been told.
Yeah, no, I mean, incredibly... when we lived together, I wasn't there very often.
No, perfect.
Perfect.
Which was really good for him.
Housemate.
But I wanted... So we moved into this flat, and there were 2 other comedians living in the flat as well. So there were 4
it's
of
like
us.
a commune.
Oh, yeah, it was. It was
Like
really...
a cult of
It was
comics.
a little bit... I mean, cult is one word. There's a
You must,
spelling.
you must have laughed all day and all night.
I mean, it was horrible, wasn't it?
There was a lot of issues. I mean,
So the very first night, so we didn't have much furniture, and we had a digital projector and an Xbox, so we could just play football. And I got back from a gig early, and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to make it really nice for him, because, Alan, I am the perfect flatmate. And so we set up the projector, and we thought, well, what film will John really like to see? So we put Lord of the Rings on, because that was your favourite film at the time.
it's not my favourite film. They didn't
And so
check.
we thought-
Why would you text someone when you can just do it?
So we thought...
It's Labyrinth, essentially. Anyway,
Shit,
go
I
on.
should have gone Labyrinth.
You
shouldn't
should
I?
have gone Labyrinth.
Would it have happened if I had gone Labyrinth? Would the same... Because you know the outcome of this story. Would the same outcome have happened?
Go on.
Probably, yeah.
Basically, we didn't have the DVD, so we went in his room to get the DVD, to put it in, to show him, and we had food out, and it was lovely. And he came in, and we were, oh, look at the lovely thing we've done. And he kicked off. Because
'Cause
we went
you'd
in
been
his room to get the DVD.
You know.
Oh, well, there was a... But
It was early. It's sort of like when you're house training a dog. And you can't have...
Well, you didn't come in and shit in the corner of your
Well-
room, did they?
Well,
That would be bad.
well. I mean,
That's
you know
good
you said it was
ass, I
Lord of the
think.
Rings.
So if a dog, when you're training it, pisses everywhere, that's bad. But sometimes it pisses everywhere because it's really excited to see you.
yeah.
You know the dog isn't capable of learning, I'm not going to punish you for pissing out of excitement, but I will punish you for pissing for all other reasons. It was sort of like that. I had to decide, do I establish that my room is a no-go area under all circumstances, except when you're arranging a treat for when I get back? So I just thought, go nuclear.
I mean, you went big.
And how was the rest of the evening? I mean, did you then have to sit and watch the film and stuff?
It was really
And
awkward.
silence?
Really awkward. He went up, he sulked upstairs. And actually, because we had guests that night, it wasn't just the people in the flat. Josie Long was staying over that night as well, because she was gigging locally as well. And so she also, you know, so she was someone who didn't live there, didn't know any of us particularly well, and it was like having a guest round and your mum and dad are fighting because he just...
There's a stinking atmosphere, and she's got to watch Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That's a hellish.
Yeah, and that's his fault.
I regret it with hindsight. But we'd only just moved in together and I'd been living on my own for 5 years, and it's a bit much when you open the door and 5 people go, react and be amused at something. He just wants to say, can I just have a bit of toast and a beer in my room first, and then we'll talk.
Toast and beer in your room?
I panicked. I wouldn't have toast and beer.
Oh, John, that's awful. You could be
go
downstairs with all the lads watching Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
You had a set
Josie's
of
right. She's great fun.
I know, they're nice people.
you had a set of optics in your room, didn't you?
I did have, a little rotating optic.
No wonder you didn't want anyone going in.
Yeah. Gin, vodka, whiskey, brandy, roulette. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see why we're
And a
grumpy
dartboard.
tomorrow. Dartboard in there.
Which is the opposite of snooker, because when you're playing darts, you're making it
holes.
messier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was an inside. Yeah. Don't get a lot of deposits back when I move.
Did you have it on the back of the door?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back of the kitchen
Classic.
door in the bedsit. The kitchen wasn't long enough for the hockey to be at full
Come in.
distance. But, I will apologise now on camera, and I will have it removed from the edit afterwards.
Did you think?
Don't take the apology.
You're not going to tidy up this show, are you?
Yeah.
Oh. Did you think when you went in, he's not going to like this?
The
But,
DVD
you know,
specifically, or the
fuck
house?
him. No, going in his room and.
No, I genuinely just thought, let's do something nice. This is brilliant. I mean, it's a digital projector. It's a massive, it's a big wall. It's a big film. I mean,
Yeah.
who's not going to like that? Turns out, him.
I got it wrong. I mean, they'd even fast-forwarded it to, like, a big action bit and sat with it on pause
Was
for
it
an
your
hour
birthday
until...
or something? I mean,
No,
I
we
don't
were just
understand.
nice people, Jenny.
I don't get
See,
that.
I think that's a bit. It's a bit
Yeah, it's a bit-
over.
it's
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I
think
think
it's a
you're
bit-
picking on him.
Yeah.
Be
It's a
nice
bit
to one
overly
another.
friendly, I
Really?
think.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm with you. I'd go, what the fuck are you doing, you weirdos?
Cheers, guys.
Oh, shit. OK, well, I would like to apologise.
Thank you.
To
Yeah,
John,
you're in the
Well
right.
done.
and
Well done.
that'll stay in the edit. So I've not got his power.
That'll be the only thing that stays in
Yeah,
it.
sorry,
This whole
John.
conversation.
On a loop.
We'll open the show with I'd like to apologise to John.
Any other apologies you'd like to make while we're here?
Well, no, the other thing as well is that we have to say there were two other flatmates, and I think I was the least bad of all of them.
I do have a list and a point system, but unfortunately it's at home, and I can't give you
was
your
this Russell
ranking.
Howard and John Robbins?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was when you, because they've been on this programme
And they've
talked about you two.
Yeah.
They weren't happy either. No one was happy.
Well,
We're
comedians
not
aren't
able
happy,
to
are
get a
they?
tenancy in this flat unless you're a comic or something. Was it like some
No, we
rule?
just gave it a go. We needed to get him out of the poverty that he was living in his studio flats.
I was living in a bedsit. We did a benefit gig for a charity in Africa,
Yeah.
and I invited the comics back to my bedsit after
And they
the
decided
gig.
to swap the funds to you.
Ben Norris walked in and said, "We should have done a gig for you so you can live in some dignity."
I don't know. You've got swivel optics and a dartboard.
I
think.
know.
In
I
my
used
head,
to, I
that's
lived
what
with two
student living is
models at one point. It was so bad for my self-esteem. They were proper catwalk models, and by comparison, I looked like some bit dropped off. You know, those broken biscuit bits. I just looked like this troll that they took out with them as some kind of lucky mascot or something. They were both 6 foot, and I just was, behind them like I might as well have been on a lead. Really. So then I
when you
moved
were
in
young?
with... yes, I was young. And then I moved in on Jeff, who I'm still with. I've been with the same man for 30 years, right? Is it 33? No, don't do that. No, that'll make me feel a bit sick. 33 years of sharing the same bed. He has it Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. But, so I was living with these supermodels. Actually, one of them was quite spotty. And they were both very drug-addled. And one of them used to put her cigarettes out in her fried egg. She was a pig. And so I decided I had to move in on Jeff. So it was like The Great Escape in reverse. I kind of every night went round to his. I'd leave another bit of my life there. So in the end, he didn't really realise it was happening. And I'd kind of moved in. There's all my stuff, bit at a time, bit at a time.
I've
Did Jeff
never
know
heard the
that it
phrase.
was you moving in and not one of the models? Did he think, I might
He
get
was
one of...
scared of the models.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, most men are, actually. Most men don't really like really good-looking women, fortunately. 'Cause they like a little bit of troll. They do. Yeah,
In the long term.
yeah, they like to think you might be a bit grateful. Just a teeny bit grateful.
And were you were burgled and had your stuff nicked a few times?
In that period, I was burgled about 5 times. One time I was burgled, and the people were... I was sitting in my living room. I was a bit stoned. I used to smoke quite a lot of weed. And I was on my own.
You were unconscious and your doors were
I was
open.
a bit comatose. I think I was only wearing a T-shirt. I mean, I didn't even have underpants on. And I was sitting there watching.
You had shit in there. You said it was a friend.
My friend shouting the girl, yeah. And I could hear some scratching about, right? And I was thinking, what is that? What's that? And then I became a bit paranoid because I'd recently seen the Blair Witch Project.
And you were smoking lots of weed.
And I was smoking lots of weed, and I'd seen the Blair Witch Project, and I thought it sounded like... Have you seen the Blair Witch Project? Do you remember it? It's very frightening if you're on your own in the house
witch
stoned.
had come in your house.
I thought something was going on. I didn't know what it was. And I went out in the garden, I went, hello? Like this. And there was nobody there.
Stood in shit.
And I went... had a shit, went back in. And I sat back down again, and then I thought... the house is quite small, so there's the living room at the back and the kitchen was at the front. And I went into the kitchen where the front door was, and there's a bloke standing in the front door. And all the noise and all the scratching was, he had a bamboo cane with a bit of coat hanger on it, and they put it through your letterbox and nick your keys. And so they got the keys, nicked my car, which I then had a joyride around North London and crashed. And they stood there, and I was just standing there just wearing a T-shirt only. And he threw up. No, he didn't. He took a bag off the chair, which fortunately was empty, and legged it up the road. And then the police came around and they said, oh, there was a programme on, I don't know what it was, not Crime Watch, but something like that, that said, watch out for people putting bamboo canes through letterboxes and nicking your keys. And since that's been on, every kid in Islington's been doing it.